Hey guys, apologies for that intro. I forgot that I forgot that I was I think it was the wrong file, but welcome to Geeksterilia show, to Geeksterilia's podcast, your favorite podcast about sci-fi, fantasy related content. I mean meaning series, movies and books, but also pop culture in general. We're not talking about a sci-fi fantasy show. Well, it could be considered sci-fi. It could be considered fantasy because of some, um, you know, romantic things that happen that don't really happen in real life. But anyway, so apologies for the intro. I really mistook the file. I don't know what happened, but sorry. But here I am to present an awesome guest that is with me for the first time and is part of the fabulous community of Hebrew Dragons. Hi, Erin. How are you today?
Hi, Ceci. I'm really, really good. So thanks so much for having me. I know I've been kind of like keeping my eye out for a topic that I could come talk to you about because I love watching everybody come on here. I mean, the English ones anyway. Unfortunately, I don't have quite the skills to understand this with the ones you do in Spanish, but
No worries.
unfortunately almost everything I like is also like very popular. Like it's like The Witcher, and then I'm like, oh, 18 other people want to come talk about The Witcher, So then yes, Bridgerton, I was like, ooh, this one I can do. So
I
yeah.
get the feeling. I get the feeling. Yeah, you know. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Bridgerton. We are going to talk about Bridgerton. I realized that I never spoke about the first season, so we may dive briefly into the first season, just comparing it maybe with the second season and everything in general. So if you are not familiar with the show, with the structure of this show, it's really no structure at all. But sometimes at first I start talking about the series or movies or whatever we're talking about without spoilers, so that the people who hasn't watched it can join us when they come in the conversation for at least a little bit, or maybe they decide to stay for the spoilers. Some people do. I really appreciate it for those who stay to the end, even though they haven't watched the show or whatever. So yeah, we haven't. Oh, but first, if you like my content, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. If you're new, I invite you to subscribe. And if you want to support my channel, you can do it both in you can do it to in two ways. One is my Patreon, uh, which is the link is right here, and you can also do it via super chat and super stickers. So you're welcome. Every help is really appreciated, and thank you for your support in advance if you decide to do so. If not, you staying here with us is more than enough. So thanks for joining us. And okay, so Bridgerton is this love series, very much in the style of well, we could say that it's very much in the style of with Jane Austen,
Mhm.
but with more with a kinky.
So much more sex. So much more sex than
Yes.
just.
But with a kinky side, you know. uh,
Oh.
so naturally, women and what we call here in Mexico señoras, in Latin America what we call señoras. It's a series for señoras, and yes, it's about romance. It's basically about romance, and it follows the love stories of eight brothers and sisters, eight siblings, the Bridgertons, hence the name of the the name of the show. And we follow each sibling in each book, or in this case, in each season. The first season was focused on Daphne, the eldest of the women of the house. Well, except from the mother, right? But
Eldest of the daughters. Yeah.
yes, the daughters, the eldest daughter, and we follow her journey to true love. And in the second season, we follow the journey of the eldest son, the viscount of the family, the head of the family, because there was in the past there was a tragedy in the family, and the father is no longer there with them. So the role of the head of the family is now in Anthony's shoulders. And we find pretty soon that this is not a fun task for him. But pretty much this is what we see. And this is a period drama, of course. And we see a lot of social interactions, and why, for some people, it's so important to get married well, quote unquote, and the social standards of the time, and the pressures that maybe the monarchy can put on the high society of London at the time. So we have a lot of drama, of course. We have a lot of humor. We have gossip. It's basically Gossip Girl.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's Gossip Girl like crossed with just a period romance piece. So yeah.
Yes, yes, very much, very much. And what else can I say about it? Before diving into spoilers, I don't know if you want to share something with us before.
I mean, I just it focuses equally on sort of the men and the women, but it writes the women better, I think, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. Like Anthony is really well written this season, but I mean, just you think about sort of all the awesome women that are written here, and they really run the gamut. They're not just one type of woman. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Game of Thrones that way, although it's nothing like Game of Thrones in any other. Yeah, right, right.
Patty
Nothing like Game
describes
of
it.
Thrones in any other
Yes,
sense, except like
Patty just
nudity.
nailed the description.
Right, right. But like it's like you get terrible women and you get awesome women and you get women
Yes.
who are in between and you get women who are trying to do their best and you get
Uh-huh.
women who are trying to work within the strictures of society and you get women who are trying to step out of those and like so I think that that's what really sort of I mean outside of just the general fun trashiness I think that's what really attracts me to the series as well. So
Yes, and aesthetics as well. The aesthetics as well.
mm,
Um,
God,
it's
yeah.
very yes, it's very cool, and it's very, I don't know how to put it I don't know how to put it in English, but it's like you're watching this beautiful little cupcakes dancing with each other. you know?
The costuming is just like, oh
Yes,
Lord.
the color palette. I mean, it's all
Yes.
pastels. It's all pastels.
100%.
It's all
And then
sweet.
you get like such strong jewel tones with the two with Kate and Edwina this year and stuff like I guess mostly with Kate but like yeah oh my god it's everything in it like every actor is gorgeous and every costume is gorgeous and every
Yes.
scenery like set is gorgeous and just every time I watch it I'm like oh
Yeah.
so pretty so yeah
Yes, it's almost annoyingly beautiful.
yeah hmm
Uh-huh. It's almost annoyingly beautiful. And what else can we say about and okay, the color this season was better than the last season. Yes.
mm,
Uh in many aspects. I mean, the costumes were absolutely gorgeous in
hmm
both seasons, but in this season especially, given that we have a lot of color people
hmm
in the show, and how they put together the color palettes in order to
yep
blend everything and make everything look really really gorgeous, and they
right
nailed everything, and which colors go with which skin tone, and
yep
that's beautiful, and well, not to mention the representation. It's beautiful to see a lot of colored
yes
people in on screen, even though some people complain. But I have news for you
yeah
regarding that matter. I do have news for you, but we will talk about it later.
definitely.
And oh my goodness, we have some spam here. Let me just.
Oh boy. Well,
Oh yes, yeah. This is
it's
this is
kind of
good.
appropriate
This
spam
stuff
for
does
the
happen.
chat.
Yes, yeah, but the problem is that I don't have right now my
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it. Okay, okay. Let's report it and okay. Okay, for those who are only listening, sorry, I'm gonna add a moderator. I'm gonna ask Patty to be our moderator,
Good
our
choice.
mod today, so we don't have that problem anymore. And okay, back to topic. We were saying that it's beautiful that we have this
Mhm.
much representation of
Yes.
color in the cast. Some people, of course, are annoyed about it, but of course, we have some news for you that we will talk about it later. We will discuss later about it, and also. One of the things that I do like regarding the um, romance topic is that it does portray this type of relationships in a manner that doesn't idealize these relationships. It
Hmm.
doesn't idealize these relationships. Of course, there are issues, and every character has issues. Uh, Daphne did terrible things to uh, what's the name of this guy? Simon,
Yeah.
and Simon does terrible things to Daphne as well. But they
Hmm.
learn how to overcome
Hmm.
their issues as a couple, and eventually well you know they become a happy couple. And but the whole thing about how the relationship started between them, that it was basically a lie in front of everybody, in front of the whole society. Well, it does give some space for this type of drama.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. And in the same way, Anthony and the Sharma sister, we won't yet say the name for for spoilers for purposes. Sorry, I'm suffering allergies, so you may hear my voice a little nosy and a little and some cough. Even I will try to mute my phone as much as I can, but sometimes I won't be able to do it. But yes, I don't know what else can you tell us about it without the spoiler thing.
Without spoilers, I mean, I don't know. It does avoid, I think, a lot of the traps of Regency, or a lot of traps of romance genre sometimes has, because I love romance, like, but there is a lot of kind of stuff that that often comes across as like non-consensual, or
Yeah.
stuff like that in romance, and they really avoid a lot of that. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like you said, it's like there's still deception and stuff, but never like no one is like getting tricked into sleeping with anyone else here. Like it's like deceptions that they're both aware of, or that aren't that don't sort of make it gross. So that's, I think, what's always kind of the thing for me with romance is it's when it's done well, it's amazing, but it's
Yeah.
often not really done very well. And this, I think, for the most part, I have some quibbles that we'll get into a little bit later, but I do think that this is a very
Yeah.
like this is very well done for the most part. So I'm so excited for you to I'm so excited for you to like talk about the representation and stuff too, because it is great and it's so fun to see. But like I know even like people of color are divided on how they think the representation works in the
Yes.
show and stuff as well. And so that's it's a positive for me, but I'm a white woman too, so it doesn't matter so much if it's a positive as it
Oh
does to
yeah.
women of color,
And
so
now that you were mentioning about consent and that sort of thematic themes well, there was an exception to this rule during season one. Patty is actually mentioning this in the comments.
I'm not
Uh,
I don't remember it. I'm sorry. I guess I
yeah,
must have
there
that up
was
there,
there
but
was it was basically a non-consensual scene. I'm not going to say the word because maybe YouTube may um censor me,
censor it or
but yes, but Daphne refused to get away from top from Simon
okay.
when he was going to ejaculate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was basically something
That was
not
not so consensual. Yeah.
that was not some consensual. I'm not going to say the word again because of censorship reasons, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Uh, But I think that they managed that in a smart way.
Well, they certainly don't try to excuse it. You
Yes.
know, like
Uh-huh.
what she did. They are very, I mean, it's he rightly gives her the business for it, and they don't try to make it look like it was like a good or a noble thing that she did. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that actually causes trouble between them.
Mhm.
Deep, deep trouble to the point that they were almost apart. Uh,
Yeah,
they were almost going to. Well, they weren't able to divorce at the time, but or it was not acceptable to divorce,
right.
but they were going to be together anymore, basically.
Sure.
So, but the way that they worked through that issue was very smart handled, I believe.
Yeah.
S- so yes, I think we are in a pretty safe zone to start talking about the spoilers.
Well,
So if
especially because there's not like a ton of spoilers
no,
in
I
something
know
like
it's. I
this,
mean,
you know, like
it's
not a
not
lot of
like you're going to
surprises.
reveal that Darth Vader is the son. Darth Vader is the
Right.
father of
Right. Or like
Leia.
just, the hero and the heroine end up together. There's not a lot of surprises here
Oh
that
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
on for,
You
yeah.
you
So
you
yeah.
know that they are going to be together in the end. You just don't know how. So
Right.
that's
Exactly.
pretty
Yep.
much that's pretty much the thing. So this what I like about this series is that it has a lot of characters. And when you have a
Mhm.
lot of characters, you have a lot of side stories that are interesting and that add up to the story, to the general picture. And of course, we have our gossip girl,
Lady
Lady
Whistledown.
Whistletown. Lady Whistletown, voiced by none other
Miss
than the
Julie
fabulous
Andrews.
Julie Andrews. Yes, of course, no one else would have been able to do that in a better way.
She is so good.
Yes, so this Lady Whistletown or Whistletown, I don't know,
Whistledown. Yeah.
Whistletown. She basically just writes about the society, and
Mhm.
of course causes more drama and controversy among the people in the high society of London, of course, and actually is someone that troubles the queen in a sort of way because she sees this gazette as a threat, to
Mhm.
her meticulously polished society. And of course this means power, right, a power struggle. um so the political implications of Lady Whistledown, it's something that they haven't fully explored, but
Mhm.
it's there, it's right there in the face. I don't know, I haven't read the books, but I know that they have some other books to explore this, but maybe they won't do it. um but it's clear that the queen doesn't like this.
Well, it's clear that she really likes it in one way. Like she
Oh yeah.
loves like the gossip part of it, but then she doesn't it sort of tweaks her nose a lot. Like it's very
Yeah.
like, ooh, the queen has made this mistake. And it's the only one who that really like calls her out for that stuff. So it's like she
Yeah.
loves it. But at the same time, she's like, I don't want that part of it. Like I want to excise that part out of it. But I still want to hear all the other gossip. So
Yes.
yeah.
Um, and the queen part, the queen, she's a little bit the way that she is portrayed is a little bit. Um, she has a huge ego because, of course, she's the queen,
Right.
but also because she has this amazing love story, and she wants to see that, she wants to be able to consume it uh, via the other people that are around her. So that's basically
Mhm.
her obsession, right? That's
Right.
why she picks this girl each season as her diamond, and you know she is the most but she's the most
Eligible bachelorette.
eligible, yes,
Yep.
eligible bachelorette. So it's it this is what makes the society try to please her so much,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
everyone wants their daughters to marry right and marry the right guy, a rich guy who will increase their chances to, you know, their economical chances.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
When their
So
status in society as well.
their
Yeah.
status, yes. Uh, and well, in the first season, we like I said before, we focused on Daphne,
Yeah.
and Daphne is this perfect little girl that everyone will see as the diamond, even if the queen hasn't named her the diamond yet. So when she gets actually named the diamond, everyone is trying to court her. Everyone is trying to court her, but Anthony, her brother, is a pain in the ass.
Well, he tries to marry her off to the first toad that comes along. That guy's horrible. The first guy that she's engaged to is horrible. Like
Yeah.
it was one of the best moments in this season when Simon just punches him right in the face. I was like, yeah, I don't advocate for violence, but that guy deserved to be punched. So, like he just sort of he's like, I really hated Anthony at that point because I was like, you asshole, like you're just trying to, like, this guy's terrible and clearly he's terrible and this is the whole rest of your sister's life, like, and
Uh,
you're just trying to be like, nope, this is the first guy that came along. And again, like you said, she's the diamond, of course she's going to have all these other chances. And he's like, no, I want this done. We're going to totally marry her to Toad guy, and like happily he's sort of talked out of it, like,
mhm.
or bullied basically by his mother and his sister into that not happening, but it's just they really don't start Anthony out on a good note for you,
No,
like a
no,
viewer. So
and not even the second season. Not even in the second season. He grows on you, but you just don't like him so much.
right.
And well, of course, well, there's the drama, and here comes the new flashy Simon Bassett.
Let me just get my fan here real quick.
Who is, of course, the hottest guy in the bunch,
Yeah,
but he is like a dark guy who doesn't really want any type of
totally.
relationship because he's so over that, and so, yeah, too cool for
Oh,
that. He's too cool for
yes.
romance. Of course, he has traumas, and you learn about them in the process, but that's essentially his attitude at the first impression that you have from him, right? That he's too cool
Yes.
for
Well, and
romance.
totally like the both both the male romantic leads so far are totally the guy that you're like, I can save him, like I can totally save him from all of his past trauma and stuff. So they do really well, like with these guys who are like genuinely like very wounded by
Yeah.
their past experiences and stuff. But it's just that's also like, I mean, it's not great in real life, but it's like
Hmm.
catnip in fiction, like that you're like, ooh, yeah,
Hmm.
the dark
Hmm.
troubled guy, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Lesson number one, ladies: don't go for that guy. Just don't.
Nope.
But
Looks him
okay,
on paper, IRL. Nope, don't go
no,
for that
no.
guy. Oh, yeah.
Enjoy them in fiction,
Yeah.
but not in real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Good
yes,
advice.
yes. But of course, he and Daphne connect because Daphne is not really that interested in most of the suitors that come to her. So she really wants to ace one big,
Yeah.
the real guy, right? So she proposes to Simon, and she says, "Okay, we have to make a deal. You will pretend that you will court me, so that everyone sees that I'm desirable, and it's easier for me to get a better husband. And I will shush away every other girl from you. So
Hmm.
that's our deal." But guess what? Spoiler: they end up
Yeah.
falling in
You never
falling
would
for
have
each other.
guessed their
Oh
plan goes
no!
wrong because they
What a
fall in love.
shocker!
Quelle surprise. Yeah.
Jesus, oh my God, I never saw that coming. But okay, but the way they present the whole thing, it's quite interesting. But and it
Mhm.
happens really quickly in the show. It happens rather quickly
Yeah.
because most of the focus of the first season is their actual relationship as a married couple. And
Hmm.
and here comes that scene that we previously mentioned, because he didn't want to get married or have kids because of his childhood trauma. His father was horrible to him, and didn't want to replicate that. Uh, he didn't want to replicate the model, basically.
Well, and he doesn't, it's like his big fuck you to it. Oh, sorry, his big screw you to his dad
Uh-huh.
is, I'm not continuing the family line. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what's going to happen here. Like, you are not going to get what you wanted because I'm not going to reproduce. The line will die with me.
Hmm.
And that's his ultimate sort of revenge on his dad. And I like how they take their time in overcoming that for him. Like, I
Yes.
like that it's not fixed in one episode. He's not like, oh, love conquers all and this is stupid for me to be ruining my own life for revenge. It takes a really long time for him to sort of come around
Yes.
to sort of giving up his old revenge in favor of like sort of choosing a good life for himself, so I like that they present that in a real, like, as a real trauma versus just a thing that, like, she says I love you and he's over,
Oh
so.
yes, and it fights with the idea that you can change the man, right? I mean,
Hmm.
she eventually does change a man, but it's because the man changes himself for
Right.
himself, not because Daphne actually changed him. Of course,
Right.
she was very insistent and very adamant on having a child, and he was annoyingly adamant on not having a child. But he eventually realizes for himself that that attitude wasn't going to lead him anywhere
Right.
healthy, right? So that's the reason why he changed his mind. But when you have this type of situation in real life, you have to take it a lot more cautiously, because if you if you do want have do want to have kids and your couple doesn't, it's a
Yep.
recipe for trouble. And
Yep.
so you really have to be respectful of the other's decision if you do want to be with that person, or
Right.
you should simply look for someone who has the same idea as you regarding child.
Yeah, this it's not generally a thing people change their mind on, but like
Uh-huh.
his whole deal was not that he didn't want children, it was that he wanted to screw over his dad, and not
Yes.
having children was sort of the way to do that. So
Uh-huh.
that was sort of how they get around that a little bit, is like, it's not that he doesn't want to have children, it's that he doesn't want his family line to continue because he
Exactly.
hated his dad. So it's nice that they treat that with the respect that it deserves, and it sort
Yeah.
of resolves itself. Like you said, he realizes that he needs to give up his revenge, rather than just him changing his mind because she wants him to.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that adds up to the process, of how to heal a relationship
Hmm.
in that story in particular. And like you said, I like the way that they took their time with that,
Hmm.
and also they took time to heal what Daphne did to him, and pretty much every other issue that they had.
Well,
But
and
then,
what he
of
did to
course, oh,
Daphne as well, like lying to her that was not because he never said, I don't want
uh-huh,
kids.
uh-huh.
She's so naive. She doesn't know what he's doing
Oh
when
yes,
he's pulling out, like,
uh-huh.
she doesn't know what he's doing. So I think that there's that part of it that needs to be reconciled too, where it's like, dude, you really deceived her on something very
Hmm.
important here.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
and so he's got a lot to make up for as well as she does.
Hmm.
And they show that. They're like, you guys were both kind of jerks to each other and you both treated
Yeah.
one another poorly. And that was one of the things that I really liked about their relationship, is sort of, it wasn't like they get married and then it's a happy ever after. Like, half the season, not half the season, but like several episodes are like their post-married life that they're
Hmm.
wrangling with, so like it isn't like the second season sort of ends up more on the and marriage, and that's, you know what I mean, like, but this you really got to see with them wrestle with the consequences of the choices that they made after
Yes.
they were like permanently together,
Hmm.
so yeah, I thought that was a really good way to plot it for sure. So
Yeah. And that was the main plot of the first season. But then, of course, you have the other characters that are run. Of course, you have Anthony, who is a womanizer that just doesn't care, but he does have the pressure of the being the head of the family. So he
mhm.
tries to avoid it. And during the first season, he tries to avoid that responsibility actively. And he has this romance with this actress. I know she's a
She's an
singer, right?
opera singer, I
She's
think.
an
Yeah.
opera singer. Yes, she's an opera singer, and it's a very hot romance, and of course, a forbidden love type of situation. Not really a forbidden love, but non-acceptable type of love
Right.
for a
Right.
viscount, right? And you have Eloise, the sister, the Daphne's sister,
Hmm.
who is constantly comparing to her.
Yeah.
No one is comparing her to Daphne, but
Yeah. She's the only one who's
she's the
doing
only one. We will discuss her further because
that.
we have opinions regarding her. We
Yes.
know she's a very beloved and charismatic character, but in my opinion, not so much. But we will
Yeah.
dive into that. And we have, of course, Lady Whistleton. And Lady Whistleton is none other, spoilers, than the best friend of Eloise. And she's Penelope. She comes from this family that is very much in the verge of ruin.
Hmm.
So her family, her mother in particular, she's trying her best to, you know, trying to position her daughters into society so that the family gets safe economical safety. But with the tiny little problem that, except for Penelope, all of the other girls are not so attractive compared to other girls in the society, and especially because they don't really seem to have good taste in the way that they are, they get ready, the dread
Right.
the dresses and the hairdos and that sort of stuff. And Penelope is quite pretty, but
Hmm.
she doesn't seem to think that she's pretty. And some other guys don't really pay attention to her because, well, because of her family situation more than anything. I
Sure.
believe. I believe.
Yeah.
So she kind of becomes like the wallflower of the parties. And from that position, she is able to see a lot of things, a lot of situations that no one else would. And she decides to write about it. And she is the one that pretty much has the society on her hands just
Yep.
because of the power of her pen. And yeah, so
Yeah, Patty mentions too, like it's not that it's like pretty heavily implied that her mother specifically dresses her poorly because like she's her least favorite. So
mhm,
she doesn't want her to sort of she wants to marry off the older two. And so she tries to sort of make Penelope as ugly as possible
mhm,
so people don't sort of look at her. So that's that's part of it as well, because I Penelope is never treated as ugly in the show, really.
mhm,
Like she's not. I like that they sort of don't. They aren't ever like, oh, she's fat or she's ugly or she's just sort of. People just look over her, and a lot of that is because her mother is trying to push her
mhm,
sisters out in front of her all the time. So like the people who do see her are Eloise and Colin to some extent, but like, she just is. It's easy to overlook her, and she's smart and she's a good friend to Eloise, who again we'll get in later. I don't think is a very good friend to her
uh-huh,
most of the time, but she's sort of, but she's so smart in the way that she does all this and arranges all this and uses her wallflower power for
Yeah.
for her own gain, and sometimes for the gain of other people as well, Madame Delacroix, other people like that. But then she other times she screws people over, so she's
Yes.
another, like her mother. Her mother is such a fantastic character because you understand mostly why she's doing things, but she's just terrible, like
Hmm.
she just does these terrible things like in service of a sort of noble goal. And I think that that's kind of it with Penelope too, is like, okay, like, you know sort of skipping towards the end of season 2, like what she does to Eloise is shitty all around, but
Uh-huh.
like mostly it's like she's trying to make choices, that sort of make things better, or it's like she sort of has good reasons for doing what she's doing, but that doesn't mean she's not sort of really doing bad things sometimes. So
Okay. Here we have a very interesting question that Patty seems to have already answered. I'll put first the question, and then I put Patty's answer. If that's the case, what does her mother eventually want for Penelope? Like, wouldn't a regency mother want to marry off all of her daughters to be considered to be successful? And Patty says no, they want one to marry well and keep the whole family until their deaths. Which seems to, well, that is something that the the character of the mother. I don't remember the name of the mother.
Portia
Portia. Yes, Portia.
Featherington.
I get that Penelope's not her favorite. Her favorite seems to be the oldest one. Uh, but I don't understand why would a mother would try to ruin the life of one of the. But I mean, of course, for the sake of drama, these things happen, and sometimes in real life they even happen too. But well, me as a mother, I don't understand why would a mother would act like that.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, it's kind of annoying. That's a very annoying character, but it's a very interesting character as well,
Mhm.
especially during the second season.
Yeah.
We will get there, but of course this diminishes the Penelope's self-esteem and the way that she sees herself. So she very much thinks of herself that she is never going to be able to get the love that she deserves because she doesn't even know that she deserves this love.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
can't wait for her story, because I think they're like heading. I haven't read the books, but it seems clear that they're heading somewhere with her and Colin,
Hmm.
eventually. But like I was like, I can hear the string version of Taylor Swift's "You Belong with Me" like in my head right now. Like I can already hear this for like the Penelope and Colin, because like that's so their like whole dynamic where she's like, you idiot. Like I don't know. I also have some sort of small issues about how like absolutely no one notices that Penelope has this huge and obvious crush on Colin. Like
Yes.
they don't. She's not subtle about it. She doesn't make an attempt to hide it, and Colin doesn't see it, and Eloise doesn't see it, and maybe Violet Bridgerton sees it, but she certainly hasn't said anything about it so far. Because she seems pretty tuned into her kids, but it just always makes me laugh that I'm like, really, nobody is sort of.
Yeah, but well, the Bridgertons, for to be honest, the Bridgertons are pretty self-absorbed.
They are, but she sees her son. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, and I guess you're right. Maybe she would see more if Colin was interested in Penelope versus Penelope being interested in Colin. But
Yeah.
it just,
Uh-huh.
she's like constantly observing her children, which I think is what makes her sort of such an interesting and fun character.
Yeah.
So,
And eventually, the one that is more mature and able to see this type of things is Daphne.
mm-hmm.
Um, Even more than Violet. But Violet is pretty. It's a pretty amazing character. But
Yeah,
Daphne is one of my favorites because all of the things that she represents and how she represents these things. Of course, she starts out being the perfect little girl, right? That everyone is going to be paying attention, right? And if I had seen this series at 15 or 16 years old, Daphne would have been my least favorite character because of all these same reasons. And Eloise would have been my favorite, but not this time. And that's why I say that the Bridgertons are pretty self-absorbed. Daphne too during the first
Mhm.
episodes, but by the end of the series, of the first series, she is the one to notice the problem around Colin and this other character. I keep forgetting the names. Marina.
Yeah.
Marina. Yeah, she noticed this, and she's the one that says, "Okay." Mm, I like the fact that Daphne didn't judge Marina
Mhm.
for what she was going through and why she was trying to take advantage of Colin.
Mhm.
She reacts in a very um with sorority, you know.
Mhm. Yes.
And I like that about her. I like that so much about her, and that's why comparing her to Eloise, I can see why they hate why they try to portray Eloise as someone who despises everything that Daphne is. They try to imply that someone somewhere in time keep comparing the two of them, but that doesn't really, they haven't nailed this
No.
in a justifiable way. uh so hence my conflict with her, with Eloise.
Mhm.
And speaking of Eloise, well, she has her own side story. She is trying to find out who Lady Whistletown is,
Mhm.
because she wants to prove everyone that she's the smartest girl in town, basically.
Well, and in part two, they sort of bring it up like a little bit in season two, but I think in part two because like she's jealous. She
Mhm.
thinks that Lady Whistledown is actually like doing something and these things that she likes, and so in part because she's a little bit jealous like of what Whistledown is sort of accomplishing here
Yeah.
with her little her leaflet, her and everything like that. So like I think that's driving her as well. Is like, yeah, she wants to prove she's smart, but like she's also kind of like, I want to prove I'm smarter than this person who I'm
Mhm.
kind of jealous of at this point too. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, her motivation is entirely selfish.
Hmm. Well, but also the queen asked her to do it, so I suppose
Yeah.
there's that too. You can't exactly say no to the queen, but yeah. So and I think it's something for her to do as well. I think that's the kind of Eloise really just seems to want something to do, somewhere to sort of direct her energy, which I think
Mhm.
is she's not. Again, I think she could be certainly done better, but she's not all a bad character. Like said, it's
Mhm.
like you want her to be sort of given something to do. You want her to be able to direct her energy towards something, and you want her to do well and to sort of break free from this. But the way that they go about it, like
Mhm.
I think the comparison with Daphne is such a good one because Daphne has all of these all of these things that are considered great in society. She's the diamond, she's this, but like in addition to being the diamond, she's not a jerk. She's
Yes.
actually just a nice person, like
Mhm.
she makes good choices when it comes to Marina, when it comes to she has empathy and she has,
Yeah.
again, she makes a bad choice when it comes to, um, the later stuff with Simon, but like she's still a nice person. And it's like
Mhm.
Eloise is feels sort of trapped in this, but she's also just kind of a jerk.
She is.
Like she's a
She very
jerk
much
to her
is.
mom. She's a jerk to her family, who's like, I guess she has a couple moments with Benedict at some point. She's
Mhm.
a jerk to this Theo guy before she, like she's just a jerk, and so I think that that's what really bothers me about it
Yeah.
is that you're like, here's this feminist character that you're like, yay, she's normally I love this girl who's like trying to break the bounds of society and stuff. But she's just kind of an asshole.
Yes.
Everything she talks to Penelope, it's always about her. It's never about anything going on with Penelope.
Everything is about her.
Yes.
Even
And like I said,
Theo.
how are you her best friend and you have not noticed her super obvious crush on your brother? Like how
Yeah.
it just feels like Penelope's whole life falls apart. Her dad dies, her family is in like financial ruin, and Eloise is like, but let's talk about me.
Uh-huh.
So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
I mean, I normally love this type of character that goes against the flow of
Mm-hmm.
society and tries to do things on her own.
Yep.
But there are ways to portray this, and maybe the justifiable reason is that she's very young, and she's very self-absorbed, and she is supposedly, because we haven't really seen it, but she's supposedly compared constantly to her brilliant golden child sister of Daphne, right? And she's pretty much jealous about from her, and she's constantly insecure because she thinks
Mm-hmm.
she's not as pretty, she's not as eligible, and whatever, so she rebels against it. This I can understand,
Yes.
but not the part of being a jerk to everyone in the family. For
Right.
example, I in Twitter on Twitter a couple weeks ago, I made a comparison between Sybil Crowley from Downton Abbey and Eloise Bridgerton. Eloise and Sybil are pretty much are very similar in the sense that they have these feminist ideas, and they have very different interests from the other women that live in the same time as them. So, but the difference is that Sybil never was a jerk about it. She never thought of her being superior or being or being smarter than other women who fit the norm of society at that time. And she actually was pretty well. Maybe she didn't have for example, the class consciousness at first, but she was very humble about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sybil truly wanted to understand the world around her. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why she became a nurse during the First World War, and she eventually ended up falling in love with her
With
chauffeur, and with her
Branson.
chauffeur, and yeah, and she actually not rejects, but gives up her privilege in order to be with the man that he loved and lived a life that is coherent with the way that she thinks.
Yes.
Yes. And that is the main difference. I mean, of course, Mary and Edith were always at each other, and their fight was always about their egos, and it was completely annoying. But Sybil, even though she might have been annoyed by this, she never tried to put them down.
Right.
She
Right.
actually tried to, unite them instead of criticizing them for their foolish
Yep.
rivalry, right?
Right. Right. I still remember that one scene where she comes in her new dress, which is
Oh
like
yeah.
pants,
Uh-huh.
like, and she's not like your dresses look like shit, she's like, this is actually just what I wanted to wear, like,
Uh-huh.
and she just, that's the charm of her. And
Mhm.
not that, Sybil Crawley is a great character. And we're not trying to say your thread is amazing. I told you that in the Slack too.
Mhm.
I loved the sort of comparisons and the way that you were like, okay, it's not that we need them to be like the same, but like
Mhm.
here's how Sybil sort of works better for
Mhm.
you as a feminist character, rather than just this feminist character who, I don't know, just kind of yells at everybody all the time. Because you say that Violet tries to, like, she's always like, oh, Violet, she compares me to Daphne, and like you said, we never see her doing that. We actually see Violet being like, here, I put some thought into this guy that I want you to dance with, like,
Mhm.
he likes this other stuff that also you like and stuff. So like, I've actually like put thought into you as Eloise, not you as
Mhm.
like an eligible bachelorette of an eligible daughter of my household, like,
Mhm.
I've put some thought into like you as a person. But then all she does, it's this, I don't know if this is the right term, but it's what I call sometimes baby feminism. Like, right when you
Yeah.
sort of get into feminism and all you do is try to gotcha everybody. You try
Yeah.
to yell at everybody. What do you mean that? What do you mean by that? I can't believe you
Hmm.
said that. What do you mean? It's like taking everybody in bad faith so you can kind of try and establish your feminist creds,
Yeah.
like, and so that's, I think that you're probably right that her age has something to do with it as well, because I think that's like, I call it, I don't, it's not young, because I think some young women come into feminism early, and by the time they get to that age, they're better than I was at that age. But some women come into feminism late. But I think we all sort of go through that phase where we're
Yeah.
like, where we're just really, really trying to work it out for ourselves. And so we're constantly sort of yelling at people
Hmm.
about it. And that's it it's fine. But again, like you said, it also doesn't back up any of what the writers are trying to
Yeah.
well, although I don't know, you made a really good point in the Slack too, that like I'm actually not sure what the writers want us to think of Eloise at this
Yeah.
point. Like, how are they, or do they think they're presenting her well, or are they deliberately presenting her as a jerk? Like I'm a bit confused on that sometimes.
Yeah. I believe the second option. I believe in the
Mhm.
second option. They are probably going to make her reconcile these ideas of her sisters and the society that she lives in, and with her own ideas, because none of them are wrong. I mean,
Right.
none of them are wrong. She just needs to understand and mature and understand that it's not wrong to want to have a family and have children and marry and marry well into society, and she can be happy being who she is without judging every other women around her. So
Right.
I really do have the hope that they gave us that, because she has a potential to be a great, great, great character. And
Hmm.
one of the reasons that I get annoyed by her a lot is that because she reminds me of myself when I was a teenager. I was this snobby, annoying teenager,
Yeah.
self-absorbed teenager that thought she was better than everyone else because I read books, right? And because I
Yep.
was not interested in guys and makeup and that sort of stuff that other girls my age were at that age. And eventually I understood, and I understood that there are many ways to be a woman.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that I'm super mature right now, but because I have a lot to learn, right? I have a long road ahead of me.
Hmm.
But I have come to the realization and the understanding that there are many ways to be a woman,
Hmm.
and you have to embrace all those ways to be a woman. You may not like to wear high heels and put on makeup all the time, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong to do that. If you want to
Right.
do that, it's totally fine. And if and on the other hand, if you want to just get yourself lost in a book or in
Right.
a video game or whatever, that's fine too.
Yep.
And I hope that they give us that with Eloise. And I think that the Theo thing was like the door that for her to embrace that femininity, or understand that it's not wrong to fall in love.
Hmm.
But of course, all the wrong reasons to have this type of relationship with Theo, because she made it about herself.
Yeah.
And that's really the annoying part, that she only thinks about herself. uh
They sort of nod towards her thinking of her family at the end of
mhm,
the second season, where she's like, I can't be caught with Theo because it'd be even more devastating for my family, so she does in a certain sense like care about her family in that way. I mean, and if she but then she still keeps going to see him, and she still,
mhm.
so it's like she just doesn't make very good choices
Yes,
when
she's reckless.
yeah, when it comes to that, it's like I think that she does care. Like, I think she's a good person who cares about her family and stuff.
Mhm,
But I just don't think she makes it. And again, probably the choice I would have made at the same age too. So perhaps it's just the sort of the age thing. But her choices are just not always sort of logically consistent for me.
Mhm,
She knows this is dangerous, and yet she keeps going to see him, and
mhm,
it's just kind of like, okay, you do something about it or quit seeing him.
mhm,
So it's just sort of, I don't know. It's hard because I really, really like the scene where she tries to tell him that, like, she like, I like you, like,
mhm.
where she's like, I read this and I wanted to, like, tell you my thoughts on it, and I was wondering if you
Uh-huh.
wanted to tell me your thoughts and stuff. It was so adorable and, like, endearingly awkward and so
Mhm.
very, like, very Eloise, like, very,
Yeah.
like, to do this thing. And so I think that they give her these glimmers of, like, of likability. I just think they're a little bit right now too few and far between. And between her
Mhm.
mom telling her she needs help and her being like, deuces, I'm out, or, like I said, her sort of being a really shitty friend to
Yeah.
Penelope, or her, not caring at all about anyone else's, what's going on in anyone else's life.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I said, they show her and Benedict, like, having a bond sometimes, but I don't know. Benedict was an odd one for me this season, so that was a
Yeah.
that
Benedict
later.
is all over the place. I feel like he's all over the place, and he just I don't know. Nothing makes sense with him so
Well,
far.
no,
I hope.
when I was like, wait, wasn't, like, he at least bisexual last season? I
Yeah,
was like, and then
I mean,
this
he gave
season,
me
like,
the vibe.
nothing,
Yes, during the
right?
first season, he gave me the vibe that he was bi or maybe
Right.
gay even.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they put him with Madame de la Croix, and then like, okay, okay, maybe he's bi. And then this season,
Yeah.
this the last season is like,
This isn't
okay.
just women, no hint of that anywhere. I was like, did I remember that wrong? I was like, am I thinking
Yeah.
of another, like, period piece that I watched where one of the brothers was gay? And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it was this one. So yeah,
Uh,
I'm really, really not sure where they're going with them. Although this season with, or the scene with him on shrooms was pretty funny.
oh
So
yeah,
on the
yeah.
mushroom tea, so that was pretty good. But yeah, but
Well,
they sort of try and connect him and Eloise, and I think that it's good that she connects with at least one of her brothers and sisters.
yeah, yeah.
Like I
But
said,
I would
Benedict's
love to
kind of,
see a scene. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a scene where Eloise and Daphne have a connection, a true sisterly connection,
yeah,
and that
yeah,
Eloise finally understands that Daphne is not stupid just because she wanted to marry.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. Or like I said, or even just her. I don't know. I'm one of the things I'm really interested are in is that I want to see how Penelope and Eloise move forward from this in their
Oh
sort of,
yeah.
like, I'm really interested to see how that goes because Penelope at the end is sort of cruel in the way that she speaks to Eloise, but she's not wrong
Uh-huh.
either,
Mhm.
and then Eloise is sort of cruel in the way she speaks to Penelope, but she's not wrong either, and that's, I think, a thing that I don't know if I think it's a thing you sort of go through in friendships sometimes
Mhm.
when, like, you fight and you say cruel things and then you're like, okay, that was, I probably shouldn't have said it that way,
Mhm.
but what I said was maybe not necessarily wrong, So I'm very interested to see if they move forward with them reconciling, or if, I know Patty has sort of read the books and things like that, but, like, I don't know if they move forward with them reconciling or if they just sort of keep them as
Mhm.
enemies going forward. I really hope they reconcile them.
I do.
And
I do. Me too. Me too. I mean, I don't hate Eloise. I just have high hopes for her.
yeah, yeah.
Right? And
I find her irritating. Like, I
yes.
don't hate her, but yeah, like you said, it's like I find her annoying and I want her to be better,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you see a potential when someone you know that is kind of cool, but he's kind of a jerk as well, and you're like,
Right.
please be cool.
Right. Please just
Uh-huh.
do better. Do better
Mhm.
than this, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Well, this question is season three going to focus on Benedict? Maybe he'll be less confusing then. But like Patty says here, and I saw that also in an interview, is that in order to of the books it should be, but the creators said that they were not necessarily do this in this order, and I think it's because they have presented this the brothers and sisters in this sort of way that they are giving a lot more weight on some of the siblings. And
Sure.
to me, it sounds like they're going to focus on Colin, either on Colin or on Eloise
Hmm.
for the next season.
It felt like Colin to me. Like it really felt
Yeah.
like they were teeing up Colin and Penelope's relationship there at
Hmm.
the end. Like, and I don't know if they end up together in the books, but I kind of, again, this is like not a surprise plot for the most part. So like, I think they probably do. So it felt like that's what they were teeing up to me.
Hmm.
But I guess we'll see. So
Yes, because we haven't really seen much of the other siblings. I mean, it makes sense because they are younger. They are much younger. But for example, Francesca, we should be
totally,
seeing a little bit more of Francesca
totally,
because I mean,
yeah,
she's very much the age of Eloise, right? And in the first season, so we should be starting to see a little bit more of her.
right,
I feel, but maybe then in the next season they will give her some room to grow as a character, at least to prepare her for her own season.
yeah, yeah,
But yes, we arrived to the second season, and we now are focusing on Anthony,
yeah.
and of course Francesca is not older than Eloise, or is it? I mean,
No, she would be
no,
younger.
no,
They're
Eloise should be older
alphabetical.
because
They're
it's A, B, C, D, E,
Yep,
F.
alphabetical order. So
Mhm.
she would be younger than Eloise. But also, it's funny because like that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, and then I was like, man, who's F? I was like, and then we got Gregory and Hyacinth. Although I
Uh-huh.
think this was the first time I'd realized Gregory's name was in season 2. But like, I was like, who's the F? Like, I think the first scene in like the first episode of season 2 is like one of the only times we see Francesca when they're all like
Mhm,
waiting for Eloise to sort of come out after she's gotten dressed and stuff. It's like I was like,
mhm.
I don't remember seeing her ever after the first scene. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, at this season we and second season we focused on Anthony, of course, and we get to know a lot of his own drama. Enter the Sharma sisters,
So
and
yeah,
well,
getting my fan out again for the Sharma sisters.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah. Woo!
man, this woman is really gorgeous. I mean,
I mean, like Simone Ashley is so like it's like hard to look at directly sometimes. It's like the sun staring at the sun or something,
yes,
because it's just like, oh my gosh, she's
she's
so
intimidating. Yes, she's
beautiful.
intimidatingly beautiful. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Every
I
time they
couldn't.
shoot hair up, hair down, it doesn't matter. Like I was just
Yeah,
like, oh my god, like I can't because then my
her
eyes are like
eyes.
watering looking at
Yeah,
her. So yeah.
her
Yeah, and they're
eyes.
all
I mean,
beautiful. The whole family is beautiful,
yeah,
but
she's stunning. She's stunning. I mean,
yeah.
Edwina is really pretty in her own way, of course, but she's more like the sweet type of girl,
Hmm.
kind of beauty.
Yeah.
But Simone is like, oh my goodness, what
Striking.
is
Yeah.
with this woman? Yeah, she's she's
Yeah.
breathtakingly beautiful.
Yes.
And of course, our Anthony does notice this.
I mean, he's not blind, so
He's
yeah.
not blind, of course. And well, the reason he likes her in the first place is because the first encounter that they do have is a competition, and he's like, oh, this girl likes competition. She's an interesting girl. She's not like the other boring blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
which is pretty misogynist from him, but but
He won't try to play it as anything other than that, though, because like he's got his stupid list, and like
yeah.
he's such when he's talking to his mom, they're like, yeah, he's a jerk, man. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't when they have him over here, him talking to like the other guys like that. I was like, I feel like they could have had him say something jerkier at that
Hmm.
point because what he said was not necessarily like a terrible thing, I guess, but she takes it really like amiss. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It also seems a little bit hypocritical because she's got a list of things that she's looking for her sister as
Yes.
well,
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but no, but like right, I mean they sort of right away are like, yeah, this guy's like a pretty big misogynist. Like he's
Hmm.
crossing people out for dumb reasons, and he's, like got a whole list of women like they're cattle being brought to the auction for him, and it's not a flattering, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
gentle manners and childbearing hips.
Yeah.
But we get to understand why he is the way he is. He's not trying to
Yes.
fall in love because he has this trauma of seeing his mother suffering for the death of his father.
Yes.
And not only that, that they never really let him mourn his father.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
saw his father die because of a bee. And
It was like
he never,
flashbacks to My Girl with Macaulay Culkin and the
oh,
bee.
yeah.
Yeah, like that totally.
I know.
Rip.
Uh,
Yeah.
those name allergies. But yeah, so his whole drama is all about duty, duty, and not falling in love in order to spare her future lady from the suffering of losing him at one point.
Well,
That's,
or it's to spare himself the
oh
pain
yeah,
of
that
losing
goes.
someone he loves. Like
Uh-huh.
that's I just of all the things, I think this season was well done in a lot of ways, and sort of there were other things I maybe would have improved upon, but
Yeah.
that his telling the story of why he is like he is was absolute perfection.
Hmm.
I thought they made it so easy to understand why he
Hmm.
was like he was. They gave him such a touch, like such a moving story. And then with
Hmm.
his whole thing with his mom, not being able to sort of be there for the family and stuff, and how you see how and why he became like he was, like and then with the tension with him and Violet, with her sort of being like, look, I know I wasn't there, and but there was nothing I could do, and it just I loved it. Like I cried at one point because I was like, this is such a moving
Hmm.
story in
Yeah.
general of how he became, the man that he is today.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And it, of course, has to do a lot with the pressures of uh, patriarchy, of course. I mean,
Mhm.
the whole reason why he was unable to mourn his father is because they throw a responsibility on him because he was the oldest man of the house. So he's kind of a jerk to his siblings because he sees them as these privileged children who will never understand the hardships of being the head of the house.
Right.
And that's why he is constantly, throwing shit at Benedict and Colin for their superficial, as to his view, to his superficial kind of interests.
Hmm.
The whole trip to Greece, and the art, and the
Dude,
art.
the trip
Yeah.
to Greece, I was like, I felt like so bad for Colin, because I don't know if you ever like did a big trip or like a study abroad or something, and you come back and that's everyone is so freaking sick of hearing you talk about your trip after like 1 hour with you. But like you want to talk about it, that's all you want to talk about and stuff. And I was like, that just was such a funny through line for me, with everyone being like, oh my God, Colin, got it. So like, because I was like, this was me. Like after I came back from my study abroad, everybody was like, yeah, France. Okay, can you talk about anything else? And I was like, well, no, that's where I've been for the last 6 months, you guys. So like, I don't really have anything else to talk about. So just like I said, it just made me laugh that everyone was like, okay, Colin. And then finally he gets to talk to the one guy who's like interested in it. But
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
and
just
it's
thought that
none
was
other than the husband of his former love interest. That was just like the cherry on top of the cake.
totally, totally. So yeah, that cracked me up pretty much through the whole season. So
Yeah, me too. Me too. I found that hilarious. One of the most hilarious moments of the season. But yes, so Anthony, back to Anthony. He's jealous of his siblings, particularly his male siblings.
mm-hmm.
And that's why he keeps being a jerk to everybody in the household, even to his mom
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And he's just adamant to not finding love, but finding the perfect wife.
Hmm.
And he sees that in Edwina, the newest arrival to London, right? Who turns out she's the daughter of this fallen from grace, society girl back in the day that fell from grace because she fell in love with this guy who was not part of the society and already had a daughter. And she decided to go to India with him and marry him and be happy. And she was casted out from the society. So
Hmm.
they went back because with the whole purpose of finding her a husband, finding Edwina a husband to enter society once again and secure their financial position, who was very compromised at the time. So they take this decision, and Kate Kate's purpose is to find a good husband for her little sister, and then she returned to India and lived her own life. Right, that's the whole point of it. But tiny little problem: Kate and Anthony secretly, not so secretly, fall in love, and there are immediate sparks between them, and yeah, they hate each other, but they love each other, and there's so much tension and so much attraction, and everyone notices except for Adrina.
She just thinks it's hate. She thinks all the intensity is hate, and not,
Yeah.
the very thin divide between love and hate. So yeah.
Yeah, and the annoying part is that they are so perfect for each other that she even fits the competitive annoyingness of the Bridgerton family in that
Yeah.
scene where they are playing what sport is that? I don't know. It's
Um,
one of
crap.
those.
Hold on. I know what it's called, but I can't. It's like two. It's like the same word repeated twice. Uh, Hold on. Um,
Anyone in the
Anyone
audience with,
know what it is?
one of those rich people sports.
It's called Pall Mall. Pall Mall.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, ALL-MALL. Yeah,
And the sparks. I mean, you see that she feels like a globe in that family.
yeah,
Uh,
yep,
com- in contrast with Edwina, who is very much overwhelmed by the attitude of all the siblings and the competitiveness. And she's just a sweet girl, basically. That uh, by the end of the season, she finds her character and her own strength and fights back to this whole childlike treatment that she's getting, right?
yep. Her arc
And
is absolutely the best one, I think.
mhm,
Like her sort of beginning to end is absolutely awesome.
mhm,
And I just think it's really really good, the way that they sort of take her from, because I think the funny thing about the Paul Mall scene is that she's sort of taught herself to be pleasing at all
mhm,
times, sort of to people, and she can't quite suss out what would be pleasing here.
mhm,
Would it be pleasing for me to be louder and more competitive? Would it be pleasing for me to let him win? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to be pleasing in this situation? And she can't quite get it, and so she doesn't really know. She sort of freezes. She doesn't know how to act, and
mhm,
then she sort of just withdraws from the whole thing because she can't. She's very very quick on her feet most of the time when
mhm,
it comes to that kind of stuff. When Anthony sort of asks her about children, and she's obviously, like, she speaks several languages, and she dances and paints, and she does all this stuff. She's obviously brilliant and quick on her feet, but this is one of the few situations where she seems very like, I don't know what to do
mhm.
here. Like, I don't know what he wants from me
Nobody
here.
trade me for this.
Right. Right. Nobody trades me batshit
Yeah.
crazy people. So yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely an interesting like contrast to her and Kate. I mean, and then she says, "Oh, well, Anthony is so what she calls him like calm or even tempered or something." And Daphne is like, are you kidding me? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
my brother
Yeah.
is like, but even then she says, "Oh, well, I guess true love brings out the best in people." She's so always ready. Like I like that about her because
Mm-hmm.
she's trained to be pleasing, but she's certainly not dumb in any sense of the word.
Oh no,
Like
no,
she's
not at
very,
all.
very smart. So,
Uh-huh.
but she's trying to act the way that she thinks she should act. So,
Yeah.
and then that makes her sort of realization at the end that I'm going to do things for me from now on all the more important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, and this season she is a diamond. So
yeah.
of course that makes her the best eligible bachelorette in the pool for Anthony. So hence his determination to marry her,
Yep. Yep.
despite the sister, the objections of the
The
sister,
terrible
the
sister. Yeah.
terrible sister. I mean I have some vibes during this season. I got a lot of vibes from other materials.
Hmm.
For example, the overheard conversation, overheard awful conversation is from Jane Austen's
Sure.
in Pride and Prejudice,
Yep.
and this whole sister, terrible sister type of situation is kind of like this is this Shakespeare. I don't
Oh, the
remember the
taming of the
name.
shrew.
Uh-huh.
The
I don't
taming of the
remember.
shrew. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But there was another movie, teenage movie, that
Oh,
was
10 Things I Hate About You
yes,
with Julia
yes,
Stiles and
yes.
Bianca. Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Hmm.
Based on the taming of the shrew. Yeah. So,
Yes, yes. Taming of the Shrew. I didn't know the name in English
yeah.
and of the story, original story. So I was like, oh, what's the name? I wasn't right about to Google it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
In Spanish, is La Fierecilla Domada, and so yeah. Um, so I got these influences from this. That you got these influences from some other stories and made it very interesting.
Hmm.
The
Definitely.
the the evolution of the relationship between Anthony and Kate is borderline annoying because of it's the slow pace of it. But then you really have they really needed to have this room for the drama or the growth of Anthony as a character, as a man, and understand that you need to be vulnerable and understand that your vulnerability if you fall in love and give in and diving in and understanding that is not a, a disadvantage, but
Right.
it yeah, I mean it could be the key to happiness.
Right. Right.
uh,
It's yeah, and it's interesting because I think the way that it evolves is annoying because it is slow, but it's also kind of annoying because like even from the beginning, you're like, man, this is so shitty for Edwina.
mhm,
Like this is just sort of bad. And as I understand it, I believe in the books, Edwina does not actually like love Anthony.
yeah.
So,
Mhm,
like, that seems to me to be an interesting change that I mean, Patty can confirm for us there, but that's
mhm,
seems to me to be a very interesting change to make her because it really kind of makes her sister look like a real jerk sometimes. Like she knows her sister is trying to do what's best, and I think they do a good job of complicating Kate's motivations
mhm,
there. Like she sort of wants to see her sister happy, but that she knows that not only does the guy that her sister is marrying not love her, but like that he loves her instead. You know what I
mhm,
mean? It's like I, that just it doesn't. It's hard to get around that being like a good decision that was made with Edwina's welfare in mind. Yeah. Sorry,
go on,
like
Patty.
it's
Unload
just
all your
it's just not a very like and I think that part of like I really really like this romance. I really like that Kate is sort of ostensibly trying to do the right thing here, and I like both of their sort of individual traumas sort of coming forward, but I wish my sort of problem in the end is that it didn't really feel like either of them changed that much.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted more from both of them on like, this is how I'm gonna be better. It was like you had Anthony realizing and Kate
Hmm.
realizing sort of what was wrong with them, but like at some point, especially given like how much I really like Kate as a character and how beautiful, you wanted Anthony to sort of make himself more worthy of her.
Yeah.
You know, sort of in the end. And I love this the dancing scene at the end with the instrumental version of Wrecking Ball over it and stuff, you know, like I love the sort of conclusion they come to. I would have loved a little bit more work done on both of them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And because I think that we spend a ton of time on everybody else. I would have liked if maybe we'd taken a little away from Eloise's story and a little away
Yeah.
from Benedict's story and a little away from these other stories to just give this like sort of after like kind of like the we were talking about with Daphne and Simon, like afterwards now we
Hmm.
have some sort of time to learn and grow together. And I missed that a little bit with the main relationship here. Like I totally was shipping it, and I was really, they have, those actors had amazing chemistry and stuff, you know, but I just wish we'd gotten to see a little bit more of them like being better people rather than just maybe the promise that they're going to be better people in the future, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
But Patty is talking about some differences from the excuse me. Sorry about that.
that's it.
The differences from the books, the deviations from the books. She says they messed up those characters and their dynamic. In the book, they both are lovely. They never fight. The three of them, including Mary, truly and honestly love each other. Not once do they bicker, but since they changed the whole trope to avoid the forced marriage again, that changed the way they interacted. And Edwina was really happy for Kate and Anthony. Well, in the end, she was happy for them, but it took a little time for her to understand the whole situation, and
That's,
uh,
yes, the person best served by the plot is Edwina,
mhm.
because it gives her the chance to sort of mature and self-actualize and become a better person.
Unlike
You
them.
know, like, right, totally. So, but
Uh-huh.
it's kind of weird that like in this relationship where two people become better, it's actually this total third person who wins the
Yeah.
whole thing. You know? So yeah.
Well, one of the reasons that I believe they didn't give us the whole afterwards after marriage life between Anthony and Kate is because since she is now the head of the household, the
Yeah.
woman of the household, replacing Violet in that role, we are going to see her a lot, and we are going to see a lot of their marriage life in the future seasons. So I believe that's why they
Sure.
really didn't show us that much, but I would have loved to see that because it took so long for them to realize that
Yeah.
they really had to be together. I mean,
That the correct choice was for them to be
yeah.
together. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was annoying. I mean, sometimes I was about to just turn off the TV and go watch something else. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I loved Edwina's whole thing. I so I love Queen Charlotte. I love her. I think
Uh-huh.
that she is such an excellent character. But uh, having dealt with like with relatives and people who suffer from dementia and stuff, I think my heart broke into about 10,000 pieces when he ran into there and was like, "Oh, did you see the fireworks? Will there be
Oh
more?"
yeah.
She sort of just has this moment, and it's horrible because you can tell that she loves him so much, but she's
Hmm.
fighting with this. She's gotta, like, this weakens them as
Hmm.
rulers, if you know, like, so she's sort of realizing this as well. And then Edwina steps in, and I was just like, oh my heart, you know, like
Hmm.
it was such a good scene. And it sort of, I think there's a lot of like sides we see of Edwina here, but like it really shows that like she's as good as she's sort of
Portrayed.
putting
Yeah.
herself.
Hmm.
It's not, there's no subterfuge here. She is actually just, she has like a really good and sweet heart. And I love
Yeah.
again her sort of clever, like when she's like, "Oh, all I witnessed was the love between a king and his queen, and I could never in a million years find words to describe." You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I think that her whole arc is so satisfying, and it's satisfying because like she is actually a good person. Like she
Yeah.
sort of doesn't need to learn to become a better person. She just needs to learn to self actualize, and she does. You know, but and so I love that at the end too, when the queen's like, "Hey, how about that nephew though? I got a nephew and it's invisible," you know, because that's the ending you want for Edwina. You're like,
Mhm.
yes, marry a
She
prince, be in
deserves a
love.
fucking prince. Yes.
Yes, totally worth it. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she deserves a fucking prince. Uh, Now that you mentioned the queen, I would love to point out that I do have some issues with her in regards of her motivations,
Okay.
because given that given that the king is in that condition and it's already a difficult time for their ruling, for a monarch, for a queen to spend that much time on gossip and trivial shit, I have conflict with that. But I understand that it's because of the situation and evolving that that developing the social situation in the story, right? But that doesn't seem believable to me. I don't see a queen so worried about the social lives of her subjects when she has to deal with a king who is not in a great condition to actually rule a country, and and you know the the colonies and whatever. So that part is my conflict with the queen, because yeah.
I have I guess I've obviously never been a queen, but I find
Hmm.
it like I find it to be incredibly relatable,
Hmm.
because that's why I read fantasy. That's why I watch Bridgerton. That's why
Uh,
I sort of do these things, is to sort of distract myself from the real
oh
and
yeah.
actual problems
Hmm.
in my life, you know. And like, so I think it makes a lot of sense to me that like the queen has this horrible problem that like again just breaks your heart whenever you think about it. You know, that scene in the
Hmm.
first season where she talks, where he doesn't remember that their daughter has died, and like all that stuff, you know, and like it's just it's devastating. And so I think it makes sense to me then that she would turn to trivial gossip to
Hmm.
distract herself from this horrible thing that she can't avoid. She can't do anything about it, you know. So
Hmm.
you might be right that the balance of the time is perhaps off, you
Yes,
know.
because
Maybe
they
spending a little too much time on that, but I
uh
find that sort of very relatable, I think. So
but what I think what that may fix this issue that I have is that, well, she's of course worried about the influence of Lady Whistletown in the people, in the public opinion of her. And that of course has some political implications, that maybe someone will think that they will be a better ruler and they would initiate some coup of state, or whatever.
yeah.
And so I do think that they should explore a little bit that in the I understand what you say, and it makes a lot of sense, of course, but I do need a little bit of uh, something that is a little bit more like realistic, because
Okay.
that's what I meant when I said that maybe this is the fantasy part of the show.
Yeah.
That
Definitely.
mhm.
Definitely,
And
because I think they do try to stray a little further away from those real life things.
yes.
Like, from that kind of stuff, from the more sort of serious, you know, I remember there was the honest trailer for the most recent Downton Abbey movie, and they
Mhm.
were like, the stakes couldn't possibly be lower. And I was like, that's like kind of why I like this show too, is because it's super, super low stakes, you know. And
Yeah.
so I think that there's a certain amount of that stuff that you're like, yeah, totally. Like that's that was the whole thing with the Regency, was like them trying to hold on to anything because all these people were like trying to come in and take over with
Hmm.
Mad King George and things like that, you know. And so it's like there is all of this other stuff, but I wonder if maybe it's a little more serious subject
Yeah,
matter that
because
Bridgerton would like to get.
then you understand why the queen has an issue with Eloise going to this these
Right.
meetings, and that would make sense, and it
Yes,
would tie the
exactly.
whole thing up. Uh-huh.
Yes, for sure, for
Hmm.
sure. So yeah, that's it's definitely a it's definitely they walk a fine they try to walk a fine line there for
Hmm.
sure. So to not sort of to make the stakes too high, but also to sort of give you reasons why, like you said, like with Eloise, it's like yeah, she's if she's plotting like sedition, then that's a
Hmm.
really big deal, you know. So
Yes.
it's not just that she's consorting with lower class people; it's that she's possibly plotting to overthrow the monarchy or something, you know. So that's
Exactly,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. And I would have loved for them to portray that concern a little
yes,
bit more vividly, right?
yep,
Not in a superficial way that she's just messing with the wrong, you know, with the wrong class.
yeah,
It's just this has serious implications, political implications that could endanger their power, right?
yeah, yep, yep,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Uh-huh.
Definitely. But it's I mean, it's hard to I think to take kind of the I don't know, I don't think they take the colonization aspect out of the
Mm-hmm.
show necessarily, but they really downplay it. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
they really really downplay it. Like with the just the people of color in general, you know, sort of it's that's why a lot of people of color are like are you freaking serious? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
this they're just sort of taken out like England is this horrible
Yeah.
colonizing repressionist nation and all this stuff, and then other people of color are like yeah I actually don't really need that in all of my entertainment, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's sort of it's hard to take that out and then go hard in on like sedition and things like that as well. So like I said, it's kind of an odd balance they're trying to strike here. So
Yeah. And I mean, portraying a black queen is something that many people have issues with because
mhm,
they don't find it believable. But I do have some news for you guys.
yeah,
uh, yeah, there's a theory that that Queen Charlotte, which is of course the queen that Bridgerton's queen is based, is actually mixed race, and there has been actually investigations regarding this, not because of Bridgerton, but because of just investigating the royalty in general.
people's fascination with the monarchy in general. I'm looking at
Yes,
you, Patty. Looking at you, Patty. So yeah.
yeah, I know. Don't get her started on that, but yeah. So
I
Queen
mean, I'm
Charlotte.
also fascinated with a couple of them. Not all of them, but
Oh
a lot of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
some,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm. Okay, so Queen Charlotte, which was the wife of English King George III, was it is believed that she was directly descended from Margarita de Castro y Susa, which was a black branch of the Portuguese royal house.
Hmm.
So yeah, it is believed that since she was a mixed race, she did have these features
Mhm.
that can you can see that she is black descent, but she still looked white. So yeah, you get me. So yeah, the portraying a black queen was not is not this particular black queen is not a fantasy move. It's
Well,
not a
and it's
fantasy
also
move.
not like
Hmm.
those people who complain about that. They're not
Racist.
worth listening to in general. Yeah, they're not worth listening to in general, basically. So, like I said, I'm always a lot more interested on like what do people of color think of this? You know,
Hmm.
what is their view on seeing something that really does erase a lot of the very very ugly past of England in
Hmm.
order to diversify representation on the screen, you know, and so that black people and people of color in general can sort of see themselves in this
Hmm.
world, which is not a thing that they get to do a lot. It's kind of
Hmm.
like Wheel of Time and Black Elves. And you know what I mean? Or again, we're gonna all be hearing a lot about the House of the Dragon and the Black Valerians, you know, and
Hmm.
things like that too. So it's like I think that I've been really interested in reading a lot of articles about sort of the tension between like people of color who like the fact that they don't talk too much about, it's just presented as a normal thing, and then other people of color who don't enjoy that they've sort of erased or sanitized Britain's actual
Yeah.
past
I mean,
here, you know.
I believe it has its ups and downs. Of course, there is always great to see someone of color on screen in a role that doesn't involve being, you know, enslaved, endangered, or put on a lower position, or on a role that is, you know, simply mainly not the principal role or whatever.
Hmm.
You know, as a woman of color, I can tell you that. Um, but I do understand the other part, the other arguments of uh, putting some makeup on the ugly part of history just in order to satisfy an audience.
Hmm.
So I would have loved to see. Well, I expect that in the side story that they're going to do, this new story that they're going to develop about the queen herself, maybe they are going to explore that,
Hmm.
because otherwise it just looks like a pop version of
Yeah.
what we would
Mhm.
like to, of what we would have loved the story to, real
Sure.
story to go. So I understand both parts, both arguments, and I don't know. I find myself in a position in which I think that I'm not against the way that they represent people of color in on this particular story, but I would love to see the real struggle as well. You know,
Sure.
we can
Sure.
have both things.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah, and I know Cloaked One is sort of mentioning the women from Southeast Asia loving to see their representation. I've
Hmm.
heard that as well, and like how they actually showed like bridal traditions. Like I think it's turmeric
Hmm.
paste that they're like putting on Edwina before her wedding and stuff, and that they use you know, endearments for one another that are
Hmm.
Indian, that are, you know what I mean, and stuff. And so it's I think they sort of did a good job in centering them and making them unapologetically like Indian.
Hmm.
You know, they didn't try to white them up, you know, when
Yes,
they when
yes,
with their
that's what
lead role,
I
you
was
know.
going to
So
say.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Because
Yep.
at first, when I saw them very polished and very, like, very, very English, I was like, okay, are they going to are they going to address that they are from a different culture at some point? And they did, and I was
Hmm.
very thankful that they actually did that.
Yes.
So I would love to see that from in the Queen. I would love to see that from all of the other colored characters that are out there. Someone in the in the actual story actually mentioned that situation changed for them because the king married a black
Yep.
woman.
That's like the
Uh,
only time they ever address any of
yes,
it, really,
yes,
is
but
like
it's
one
not enough. I
statement.
mean, it's
Yeah.
not enough.
Right.
But
Right.
I would love to see that.
I would have loved to have seen Kate get the same flashback treatment that Anthony got, in
Mhm,
like into some more insight into sort of why Kate ended up like Kate was, like, you know, like, and seeing their life in India. I would have loved to have
mhm,
seen sort of flashbacks that represented that a little bit more as well, just
yeah.
because I find it really interesting, you know. So, and
Mhm.
I think that would have been another interesting dynamic to see in Kate's character, you know. So
Yeah, and they are. I mean, that would actually would have justified the trauma of, I mean, would have built on more on the trauma that
yes.
they both share, because they both come from these loving families of a couple that truly loved each other and were happy with each other. I mean, one thing that I actually one another thing that I actually loved a lot was the fact that they portrayed stepmotherhood as a good thing. For
Yes.
finally, I mean, I'm a stepmother myself.
Not a
I'm
wicked
always
stepmother.
I'm always annoyed with the evil stepmother thing.
I love my
So,
stepmother, so I was
uh
also happy to see good representation there. So yeah.
yeah, I was very happy about that as well, and the fact that she actually saw Kate as her daughter, and the that loving moment that they both share by the end of the
Yes.
season, when she says, "I love you. I just love you as my own." And
Yeah.
it has been that way ever since I met you. I don't know why you doubt this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was pretty cool too.
Definitely.
uh,
Well, and especially you gotta respect Lady Mary all the more when you see what awful people she came from.
oh
Like that
yeah.
dinner scene with her terrible, terrible parents who are just I don't know. I like that scene because I like Lady Mary standing up for herself. But
Mhm.
then I also like Anthony being like, perhaps the reason that people aren't inviting you to shit is because you guys suck. Not because of any weird society stuff, but because
Uh-huh.
you guys are terrible, so deuces, get out, so I really really like that whole scene. And again, I like it too because you see sort of Lady Mary the whole time sort of accepting all of this trash that people are heaping on her,
Mhm.
like she sort of has internalized the fact that she either deserves or is owed this kind of crap that people are sort, because she never speaks up for herself. She's always like, okay, okay, okay. And then you finally get to see her be like, no, I'm sorry, no. So I loved getting to see her like tell her terrible, awful parents to go pound sand, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I there was another moment in the show that I truly loved that doesn't have to do with them, but it has to do with Violet and Lady Danbury
Oh
when they
yes.
laugh their ass out.
And the peacocks. Oh my
Yeah,
yes.
I
Yes.
love that moment.
I did too, and but I love that they sort of didn't, because like I Lady Danbury is awesome. Like she's one of the best characters on the show, obviously. But like I loved that they sort of gave her a few. Uh, I first of all I liked her talking to Kate about like, look, I already had love.
Mhm,
Like I had this love, and that's now I'm okay being who I am. But like, don't you know don't look at me and say, okay, she's happy alone because my life took a different path. They
mhm,
also weren't like, you can never be happy unless you get married either. But she was like, no, 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 you're misreading my life, But
mhm,
then I loved the situation with her and Violet because I kind of liked her. I liked their friendship anyway, but I liked her admitting that she didn't know what to do.
mhm.
Like she's like, I don't know, I don't know what to do here. And Violet was like, me neither, So and it
Yeah,
leads to their like when you think everything is going to work out for them and the Danbury wing of the museum and stuff, and then Eloise things happen, and it does lead to that wonderful moment in the house where they all dance,
yeah,
and stuff like that too. I loved Hyacinth being like, "Oh, another dance," because that reminded of me like at weddings when I was younger and I used to go to weddings and stuff, and you had like boundless energy. And Dad, do you want to dance again? And Dad was like, "No, gotta go sit down because I'm old," So yeah, but yeah, I really loved that scene, and I it really brought together like the Bridgertons as a family with
yeah.
Lady Danbury and with stuff like with the Sharmas as well. So I
Mhm.
thought that was really nice. So, but I did love the scene of them laughing their ass off at the terrible peacocks. So yeah,
Yeah, but it was not the peacocks, it was the situation. They just
right.
went, yeah, they just used the peacocks
It's an
as a mode,
excuse.
as an excuse, yes. And I mean, their whole plot to marry these two people that
Right.
were perfect in the eyes of the queen, and everything was supposed to be perfect, and then that's snafu.
Yeah. Really, nobody saw that coming. So
Yeah.
You know what else I love about that party too? I
Mhm.
the Featherington girls are awful, but I love the weird middle one who keeps trying to like mimic the
Oh
statue guy
yeah.
and stuff. And her mom yells at her, and then they show her 5 minutes later back to doing the same thing. And I was like, she's terrible, but I love how weird she is. So
And then she's trying to sing every time she
oh my
gets
god.
a chance, and oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, they're all like, no, we're good here. So yeah. Yeah. I do like that. I yeah.
Oh,
Like
and
I
the
said, we
whole
haven't really talked
feathering
about Lord
situation. The whole
Featherington.
feathering situation was also pretty interesting this season.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
did not go the way I thought it would. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was actually poor was very surprising,
Hmm.
So, uh, but I don't know. The whole plot was sort of, that was a thing I definitely thought we could have maybe spent less time on in
Oh yes.
favor of more Kate Sharma, like
Hmm.
that's more of the sort of main couple and everything like that, because it's okay.
Hmm.
I guess I didn't find it quite as compelling as some of the other
Oh yeah.
material.
I don't. I'm not that interested on them.
Right.
Yeah,
You're like
and
Penelope, but not the rest. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. And speaking of Penelope, I loved the closure that Colin had with
Marina.
Marina,
Yeah.
and Marina telling him, you are you blind or what the fuck is going on with you?"
Right.
I mean, you have,
People love you
yeah,
like Penelope.
Penelope. She's right there with
Yeah, like
you,
come on.
giving you all sorts of hints. Yeah, you keep missing, you
Yes.
idiot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you big dummy. What are you doing here? So like, because it's clear that she's not like super happy with her husband, but like at the
Hmm.
same time, she's like, you dope. What are you doing here? You like, what are you expecting from me at this
Yeah.
point? Please go away,
Hmm.
So yeah, that's I was glad to see her again. I like that actress and I like the sort of character of Marina, but it was sort of clear that Colin's just a big dummy, So
Yeah, but I mean, he is a dummy, but he's not so much of a dummy because he actually played the Featheringtons pretty
yes.
well, and that was a surprise from that character because you generally think of him as truly naive and self-absorbed and frankly quite stupid, and then you realize that he's not that stupid, but then he starts being polite and actually noticing Penelope. And then, of course, he just messes it up with,
Yeah.
saying to his friends that he's not ever going to, ever going to court Penelope. But
Yeah. Famous last words there. But
uh-huh.
yeah, so like, but yeah. I was actually gonna bring that. I really like the character of
Hmm.
Mr. Mondrich, the boxer who then owns the gentleman's club and stuff.
Hmm.
And I I liked his arc in season one, but then I wish we'd seen a little more of him again. Like I said, I'm like trying to like take time away from like certain stories and give it to other ones. And Will
Hmm.
Mondrich's is one I maybe would have added a little bit more time to, like trying to make this club successful while also being like very egalitarian and stuff. And then you wonder if he's gonna say anything because he knows Mr. Featherington is that full of Lord Featherington's full of shit,
Hmm.
like, but then he sees Colin and you're like, yeah, come on. But I loved how that all played out too, that Colin then repaid his kindness in the end by bringing all of his friends in and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
um, but I loved his wife being like, just keep your head down. Just, oh, nope, he's going over there, So, but
Yeah.
I like him and his wife, and I kept wanting him to punch Lord Featherington too, but I was pretty sure that was probably not going to happen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, unless we have another point that we are missing, uh, can you
I'm
think
trying
of
to
anything?
think
No,
if I was like,
but because
did you miss the Duke this season?
not really. I mean,
Yeah,
of course, it would have been wonderful to see Daphne and the Duke interacting as a happy couple,
yeah,
and maybe that giving even more motives for Anthony to try to stay away from love or something. But no, I really did not. I actually
I
did not.
thought I might, but because
Hmm.
he was just such a central character. But
Hmm.
yeah, I really didn't either. I don't think so. I did like that they had Daphne coming in as like the another sort of female voice in Anthony's life. Like I
Hmm.
loved the scene where she said, you do all these things to make your family admire you, but instead they make us pity you.
Hmm.
And I think that was like kind of the moment that actually got through to Anthony after all of his mom stuff and after all of his other stuff. He was like, well, what? You pity me? You know, that's a terrible thing
Mm-hmm.
to say, but it's true, you know? So,
Mm-hmm. And the weight of Daphne saying this to him, married to a
yeah.
duke,
Yeah,
in opposite of when she was younger and single, it did make an impact on Anthony's views, because otherwise he wouldn't had respected her opinion, uh, as much as he did this time. Uh,
definitely.
it's sad, but it's the reality of those times, right? Uh, and even today, even today, some people don't seem to find the voice of a single woman as powerful as the voice of a married one, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, I think overall, of course, it has its ups and downs, the season, and but it was generally entertaining and good, and
Yes.
yeah, I liked it. I liked it, and I hope to see, for example, with Benedict, I hope to see his story a little bit more
Yeah.
structured and making sense.
Well, especially because they give Anthony that thing at the end where he's like, Benedict, you have a remarkable way of like looking at people and stuff. And I was like, wait, where is this guy? You know what I mean? You could sort of see Anthony trying to be better. They start with the younger brother when he's telling his younger brother about his dad and stuff. And then he's trying to sort of be nicer to Benedict. But I was like, yeah, Benedict was just a real mystery this season. So like you said, structure for Benedict would definitely be good going forward. So
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, are you
he's an
talking
interesting
about this?
character.
Sorry, Patty's saying I love Benedict's story. Are you talking about this season or his book story? Because I
Yeah.
gotta kind of question your judgment if you loved his story this season. That's all. Not really. People like what they like, but yeah, it was just a bit strange.
Yeah.
Are you do you ship Colin and Penelope? Do you hope they get together?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know they do, because there is a whole book uh, dedicated for their story in particular. But I would love to see how it comes out, especially when given that uh, Penelope and Eloise are not in the best place, and
Yeah.
Penelope overheard that conversation with Colin, and now her hopes are totally ruined. So yeah, I would love to see that, and I believe that's why they are going to make the next season about Colin instead of Benedict. At,
Yeah.
at least that's what I think, because they gave a considerable amount of time to Colin's story, more than they gave to Benedict. Like we
He was
said, I
just
mean.
in art school and on shroom
Mhm.
tea. So yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, well, if we don't have anything more to say, well,
That's
Erin,
it.
it has been a pleasure having you here for the first time, talking about something that we like.
Definitely. I was dying. I was like, I don't care if nobody shows up to watch this. I'm like so excited to talk with someone about this for a couple of hours. So yeah. So thank you for having me on. I'm glad we finally found something we that like 8 other people didn't want to talk about. So
Oh yeah. It's always great to have to find someone to talk about these type of things that are not usually what the whole bunch of people that you usually hang out talk.
definitely.
It's what I get with the Expanse here in my inner circle, because I mean, with you guys I can always talk about the Expanse, but in my inner circle, and not everyone has seen it.
Yeah, not
And
me, unfortunately. I'm one of like 2 Here Be Dragons people who has not seen The Expanse.
oh my
So
god, oh my god, oh my god.
I know. I'm actually not quite as into sci-fi as I am into fantasy and, you know, people wearing awesome costumes. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah, I know. Well, Erin, do you have anything that you would like to uh, share with us about things
no,
that you do?
unfortunately, I don't have a channel. I just guest on other people's to talk about stuff. But I mean, I'm going to Ice and Fire Con next week, but I don't know if any of your audience would be going to that or anything like that. But
I
I'm
don't think
sad you're
so.
not going. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I wish you were going.
Mhm.
I would like to. Hopefully,
Oh,
we'll
me
meet in
too.
person one of these days. But yeah,
Me
so
too.
but no, no channel for me. Just look for me. Here be dragons. I don't really tweet very much, but and I post a lot of pictures of salads on Instagram. So that's about all I've got there as my own personal brand. So yeah.
Okay. Maybe we get some ideas now. Alright. Well, I hope you do come back. Patty is expecting
Oh,
you to come
Patty.
back, and would love to have you both uh, on the same show. So,
Bridgerton season 3. Just pencil us in right
oh
now.
yeah,
So
oh yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, and to you guys that watched the whole thing, thank you so much for being here with us. Even those if even if you didn't watch the whole Bridgerton show, both seasons. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for your like and subscription to the channel. Thank you for activating the little bell in order to be notified of every new content that I upload. Thank you for your follow if you are listening on your favorite podcast platform. I invite you once again to become a Patreon in order for to me to make it easier to do this type of content. And if you liked, of course, it's not you know mandatory, but it is really appreciated if you do. Here's the link once again, or your support via super chat or super stickers or whatever you need, or you simply just your subscription and being around and interacting with me on social. You will find me on social as at Geeksterilia, pretty much like this channel. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next time. And may the force be with you. Bye bye.